Good afternoon, and thank you for being there. So most of you are there. At the backdrop of these discussions, what happened, I would like to focus on two things. One is product capabilities. I think there was a lot of questions on capability, as well as how we define it, the roadmaps, the journeys, and overall the whole idea is how do you adopt or accelerate your journey. So I will focus on some of these. As VMware, we purpose-built a lot of solutions for cloud. So it's not like we have stumbled upon a concept of cloud where we have a lot of other products and we're just trying to do something. Our whole existence is on how to make this cloud journey happen, how to accelerate it, and how to enable customers adopt this journey, right? So with that, I'm not only going to focus on a few solution areas around cloud, but I'll also try and talk about those in the application cloud area and the end user cloud space, right? So this is what I'll try and cover in the next 20 minutes. 20 minutes is really short, can't really do too much of justice. So some of the slides which are self-explanatory, I will not go too deep into them. As I progress with my presentation, I'll also try and focus on what people have done, or rather what organizations have done to achieve some footprint of cloud, which will help them actually accelerate their own businesses as well as move to agility, right? So a couple of instances. I'm not going deep into those case studies, but I'm happy to discuss them offline. Yeah? This is my quick agenda, but I'll try and keep it very brief and short. Just a corporate overview for those people who don't know us. So it's always good to start with that. I'm not assuming that we are so famous that everybody here knows what we do for our living. So it's good to give that overview. A good insight into cloud management, maybe the application tier, which not many people are aware. I think we do so much of virtualization that all the other things which we do, which is so important for the cloud, is not something that has really sunk into many people. So we're just associated as virtualization people. So I'd like to actually talk about those technologies which are extremely imperative and important from the sense of cloud, right? So we don't really focus too much on applications, and I think that's an important area. And what are we doing to make sure that the applications are cloud ready, or you can build those kind of applications which are agile to move on to cloud. End user computing, another interesting area as to how you can build end user clouds. So, and how also to make those pervasive. Today, I think almost all handled are very pervasive, and end user instruments are too pervasive. You'd like to detach them, or rather make them independent of your application, and you can serve any application onto any end user device, right? So that's exactly, and I'll conclude with just a journey to cloud. This is what we are. I'm not spending too much of time on that. A good $3.5 billion company, and most of it on virtualization, so it speaks for itself, how big we are and how much of virtualization is adopted across the world. The fifth largest system software company in the world, and they're very good proven trenches. So if you look at them, that's the interesting part. The customer base, the adoption rate, the top 100, the top 1,000, the 5,000, the creme de la cremes, who have actually tried these technologies just beyond test and development, right? So that's the point I want to make. As of mid-2011, for those people who really value Gartner's feedbacks, he said 81% of the applications, installed applications on VM, actually run on VMware, right? So it's a big statement, and I think that kind of mitigates a lot of product risk, so it's good to have. Our mission is to enable customers actually simplify their whole IT infrastructure in this cloud era, right? So that's the whole mission. How do you do that? We believe there are 3 stages, and you can go one stage after the other, or you can do big bang as well. So I think it's now time. Earlier we used to say you should always, every stage has a motivator, and hence you should not skip any of these stages, and you should actually take the journey. But I believe now that the solutions are so matured, as long as you can define. I think this whole panel had a problem which till the end didn't get resolved. I don't think they got an answer for security. Most of the things are not technology issues. They could just be a definition issue. At times, if you really can't define what it is, in our case, even the laws, or for that matter, what we want to protect, where does it end, what is a periphery, it's very difficult to find a solution, and we would rather say there's a big inhibitor, so I'm not going to get into it. The thing is, there are three things. One is to consolidate, the other is to enable your business adapt, so you move into business critical apps and prove to business that this technology works. And finally, you can lead with service, right? Service-oriented architecture, and that's how the productivity is actually, you harness it. So those are the three stages, basic stages, and there are solutions that maps to all these three stages, right? So I'll try and quickly wrap up in about 20 minutes. This is a landscape that all of us are very familiar. So there's been tectonic shifts in last, about 40, 50 years. Every decade we see a new emergence of a new technology, and we also see how this technology makes a change. Right now, if you look at the cloud or the next generation of the tectonic change, it is the cloud era. And this is not something, I don't know why, we all think cloud is something that is to be associated only with internet, or yeah, that's how the definition started. But there are many ways the cloud is to be associated more with self-provisioning, IT as a service, or agility into business. These are the things which should be driving or drivers to adopt this technology, right? So that's the way I will view it, and I'll try and give you some of those solutions or solutions that we work on. There are three focus areas, so we cannot skip them. We focus a lot on IT as a service, or rather infrastructure as a service. This is largely an easier area to address, if you ask me. It's not so difficult, because it has comprehensive set of solutions, and they're quite proven, and it's largely very mature and probably one of those easier areas to look at it. A more flexible, scalable, efficient infrastructure is what you would look at. That is to move from your existing legacy data centers or physical-based data centers onto VDCs. Now, I don't want to call it internet-based or intranet-based. I would rather restrict it to intranet-based, and they are basically moving to a VDC, to a virtual data center, right? That is what we want to enable. The other thing is to make these applications easier to move on to VDCs. Many of us don't focus on it. A lot of problems that you stumble upon is because your applications may not be designed really for the virtual infrastructure. So you might have to modernize some of them, or repackage some of them, or optimize some of them, or whatever. So that is the layer, which is the applications part of it, and then comes the end user. How do you actually make sure that empower your end users with information on any device, right? It's device independent. There is a lot of debate around that as well, whether we should ask our employees to get their own device, or we should provide them, or which device is secure, which is not. That's a part for a while. Let's all, it's just, it suffices to say that, okay, we'll kind of look at it, but let's look at what are the solutions we can provide for them. So basically, VMware focuses on all these three layers. They just don't do it only on the cloud or the infrastructure or the virtualization layer, but in all these three of them. We provide solutions for infrastructure. We provide application platform for you to build cloud-ready applications, and these are different from the normal application layers, which are heavy and which are less agile and which are not modular, which are not framework-based, to these, which are more framework-based, easy to use, easy to deploy, and also extremely lightweight. So, there are different components how you can stitch them up together. So I'll just take them through with the help of a couple of slides. Finally, it's end user computing. On that layer, we again make sure that we provide solutions not just for desktops, but also for mobile devices, right? So that's iPads, phones, your desktop. Everything should look like a desktop eventually, not today. Maybe that's too far in the future, but then eventually you would make everything look like the device that can support an application, and that's where we focus on. It's I called it their cloud, their business, but actually it's your cloud and your business and what it should look like. So let me give you some case studies even before I move into solutions and giving you the footprint of solutions. People have always come back and told me, you don't really support your statement with enough data, right? So I don't have a lot of time, but I'm just going to try and give you. These are some of the highlights you would like to look at. NYSE Private Cloud manages 1/3 of world's wealth, and they have done enough research around how to secure this. There is a very good deep dive case study which is published, and I request you to have a look at that, which is already on the website, right? Ducati, You look at this, 0 to 98% virtualization in less than 2 years, which allowed them to increase, 3x increase in production. So there is a business benefit associated with it. How is something that you really need to understand these through deeper case studies, which we will provide details, but it suffices for a moment to give you some data and some insight into what people have achieved with higher degrees of virtualization and abstraction. SAP, global instances of SAP, 80% of them, 25,000 VMs run out of their clouds. So a lot of Indian customers even today don't virtualize their SAP, even when they have an opportunity to do. You wouldn't do it for heck of it, right? You would do it when you have an opportunity. I know of several businesses who refresh their hardware and they have an opportunity to evaluate an alternate architecture and you don't do it. And I put up this slide just to give you that SAP is probably the first of those business critical apps who came out to certify, give comfort to their customers that you could really virtualize. And you do that, you could bring your entire SAP footprint down by probably 1/5. And I don't think many businesses, we talk about cloud, we talk about mission critical applications moving to cloud. We don't take those baby steps even to evaluate the possibility of these, which are actually certified by OEMs to be moved to a basic physical to virtual. So I think my only submission is it's very important to evaluate the merit of these applications, and if you have an opportunity to consider them. Southwest Airlines, you see, look at the kind of provisioning time, bringing down, it matters a lot to the airline industry, and I understand there's a gentleman from SpiceJet. 6 hours, 6 days down to an hour, right? So it makes a whole lot of difference. So cloud, if you see in all these 4 case studies, had very different business benefits, and they could be used for different drivers, and it could be implemented in different ways, and you could start very differently, right? You could do a big bang, a small approach, whatever. Ultimately, virtualization is fundamental to cloud, and it brings about a lot of benefit wherever you start. So it's a matter of making it a beginning. And so many of us still have a whole lot of footprint on Unix, and you continue to invest on them. I am not advocating against a platform. I'm just advocating for you to look at alternate technologies and make best use of them, right? What is cloud infrastructure? Unlike a lot of other cloud providers, our focus has been on to enhance the experience of both the administrators and that is the IT organizations and also the business organizations and end users. So from that perspective, these are 3 important ingredients. 1, you must reduce complexity. If you go into your data center, many of you will not be able to even fathom the fact that it's the most complex environment in which some things, as long as they work, it's fine. If something goes wrong, it takes a long time to troubleshoot. Secondly, you'd have to dramatically lower costs. Today, I don't think anybody has free flow IT budget. I've spoken to a lot of CIOs. One of the things that the CIOs like to do, or rather be a partner to business, is to make sure that IT is a variable cost and not a fixed cost. And for that, it's extremely important to look at these things, right? Enable flexible and agile architecture. We built the most comprehensive solution. Now, you should not take this as a marketing statement. I would like to substantiate, but paucity of time, I can't do that, but I'm happy to handle any questions you might have. We made it as comprehensive as possible. We have been there in the business for about 10 years, so we didn't keep enhancing our the hypervisor. Hypervisor is incidental. Hypervisor is commodity today, if you ask me. You want to just virtualize and have a hypervisor. You don't really care about doing business critical, SLAs, availabilities, end user experience. Don't even invest in VMware. You could probably, if these are not important to you, you could just download a hypervisor and use it. Why do you invest in VMware? And you need to know why you do that. These are the things, and they make a difference. It is security, it's manageability, it is availability, automated disaster. As the VMs grow in an environment, whether it is a private cloud or a data center or a public cloud, wherever, it's a lot complex than the physical. So it's important to automate. While you bring in efficiency, you also drive a lot of cost lower. You should not be, grappling with VM sprawls. So it's important to make sure that you have solutions which basically address the entire stack. And the way we differentiate ourselves is those 4 top items, and it's not the one below. That's fine, that's given. We have 140 megs of hypervisor, which is probably the thinnest in the world, one of the thinnest in the world, and the rest of the competition is still grappling with GBs of hypervisor code size, right? The thinner it is, the better it is, because it's more scalable. That is given. What we supplement or differentiate is the one on the top. Very well-defined set of management framework, a well-defined set of security framework, and we don't provide all the security ourselves. We provide with security that is needed for you to secure the VM, right? Whether it's application security for VM, or it's an endpoint security for VM, or it is the peripheral security. We work with other security vendors, such as Trend Micro or Shrimathi. You can take anybody. And we certify our products with them so that we can address the security needs end to end. So it's very important to look at definitions so that you can actually implement them. Many a times we actually cannot define things. Maybe that's because it's complex in itself. So this whole new approach makes things easy from a more difficult and inflexible environment. That's all I want. It gives you greater flexibility. The VMware's approach for IT as a service has been based completely on automation. So automation is the important. When I talk of cloud, I'm really not so much, I'm not so much meaning that you should have it somewhere in the internet, and internet is the only way to access, and whether you know who owns it or not, and that's the way to go. That is there, that's given. A lot of internet and VSPPs or ISPs, as you might call, or infrastructure cloud providers do use our technology as a bedrock. But that does not mean that's the only way for you to leverage these technologies. It's important to build them into your data center so that you can move them as and when you have an opportunity, and you can kind of get those contracts in place properly. VMware's portfolio has not just been on the lowest layer. So what we have done is we have also put in application tier, or the application middleware, which helps you basically to define those applications which can be cloud ready. So you need to remodernize your applications. These are completely Java based. A thinnest possible application servers, which is TC servers, Tomcat servers, which we have taken up the source of Tomcat and enhanced it to give you all the features which you might not see in vanilla Tomcat. We've also provided with in-memory databases. We also have databases that are 10 or 15 times more powerful and faster than the traditional databases. So it's the entire, and also a middleware product that can basically do the enterprise bus. So it's a complete middleware which is built for cloud. So it's very good to go and explore what it does. And this whole thing is across one single management framework. Today you tell me how many of you see all these components out of a single window. You really don't. And even if you do, it will be the least common factor. So you just see maybe the service is up or down, or it is whatever. You can't troubleshoot to the extent you would like to do, or see in detail as to what's happening to your application or to a particular user or any of those. What we have tried to build is to make sure that it's a single unified console across this entirety, and I think that's very important. Easier you make management, the better it is for the environment. Otherwise, there's no point. You could have the best of the optimization done, may not be the best of the SLAs. We also support hybrid clouds. So this is an important attribute in the cloud, because you wouldn't want to miss out on something that you can really host externally. The best part of VMware, I think you should ask the other providers as well, is we actually use OVF, which is called Open Virtualization Format. So you could be running a VMware cloud or VMware virtualization within your data center, and you could be running your, your service provider could be using Hyper-V or just anything, any other hypervisor. You can plug and play your VMs from your internal environment to external environment, along with all the policies that you build in using OVF. So it allows you to move. We give you connectors actually to move from one cloud to the other clouds, right? So it's thus supporting the entire vision of having a hybrid cloud. I really have 20 minutes, so I'm going to make it brief, but if anybody is interested, post my presentation, we could just take a little more. The best of the providers of public clouds run on VMware. All of them that you see, including India. We do have Airtel, we have SIFI, we have HCL, who run most of their cloud operations, or rather all of their cloud, public-facing cloud on VMware, right? So there is enough support from most of them who have tested these platforms. And they are bound by a lot of contracts. Cloud application platform, and if you're telling me it's time up, I'm going to take a couple of more minutes. I think you were. Okay, so this is, so I've been already hinted on time, so I'm just going to go very quickly and just let you know that this is a modern framework based on Java. You take any Java code today that you're running on a legacy or a traditional platform, a middleware platform, you can convert that into a cloud-ready platform. So you can convert that into a lightweight, cloud deployable Java component, right? So that's all I want to say. It's all based on Spring Networks. So you can transition from one to the other. It's the comprehensive platform. I'll share these slides, and if you have questions, I'll take them. I'm just going to skip them because I believe we don't have the time. We also provided the industry with the first PaaS. So if you're building applications which are going to be ready for cloud for the first time, you don't need to own up anything. You can use this platform, build your entire application on this suite, and simply deploy it, right? So this suite already has the entire cloud-enabled application service suite, which is put on the Cloud Foundry. So if you're interested in knowing more about it, it's there on VMware.com. End user computing, this is something that you want to just simplify the way in which people access, also secure it, so give them the flexibility of their device, but ensure that you do not